Imagine for 1 second that every single thing you ever believed about Jesus Christ was only the cover story. A polished, sanitized, carefully edited version designed not to reveal the truth, but to hide it. Imagine that the greatest love story in human history was deliberately torn out of the Bible, page by page, until only a few cryptic verses remained. Imagine that the man you were taught to worship as a lonely, sexless, floating savior was actually a flesh-and-blood husband who came home every night to the woman he loved more than life itself, who kissed her with the same mouth that forgave sins, who held her while she cried after long days of teaching and healing, who placed his hand on her belly one quiet evening and whispered, "We're going to have a child, a little girl." And imagine that child was born, that she lived, that she grew up laughing and running through wildflowers in Galilee and later in hidden marshes far away, that her name was Sara, Sara, daughter of Yeshua and Miriam of Magdala, Sara, the living continuation of the blood of Christ. And imagine that every pope, every emperor, every church council for the last 2,000 years knew her name, and fought with fire, sword, torture, and lies to make the world forget ever existed. This is not a theory. This is not fan fiction. This is not what if. This is the forbidden truth that is rising right now in our lifetime, like a wave no dam can hold back any longer. And you, yes you, the one watching this right now, were led here for a reason. Because once you hear what I'm about to tell you, once you see the evidence with your own eyes, once you feel it in your bones, you will never again be able to sit quietly in a church pew and accept the half story they hand you. You will never again look at a crucifix the same way. You will never again hear the name Mary Magdalene without feeling a fire ignite in your chest. Because the greatest cover-up in history is finally cracking open, and the silenced daughter of the living God is stepping out of the shadows to take her rightful place. Let's go back to the beginning, to a dusty village called Magdala on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. A woman lives there. She is wealthy, independent, intelligent, spiritually awake. Her name is Miriam Mary. Something terrible has happened to her. The Gospels say 7 demons tormented her. Then one day a young rabbi from Nazareth lays his hands on her, looks into her eyes, and commands the darkness to leave. And it obeys. In that moment, something far greater than healing takes place. 2 souls recognize each other. 2 hearts that have been searching across lifetimes finally find home. From that day forward, Mary Magdalene is never far from Jesus' side. She funds his ministry from her own purse. She walks every mile with him. She stands at the foot of the cross when almost every man flees. She is the first to the tomb on Sunday morning. And in the forbidden Gospels, the ones they tried to burn, she is called the companion of the Savior, the one he loved more than all the others, the woman who knew the all, the disciple he kissed openly, often on the mouth, while the other apostles watched in jealousy and confusion. Let that sink in. He kissed her on the mouth, in public, in front of the 12. And the original Greek and Coptic words are not ambiguous. Koinonos, consort, partner in life and mission. In first-century Jewish culture, a rabbi, a teacher, a master was expected to be married. Celibacy was the rare exception, not the rule. To be unmarried at 30 was strange, almost suspicious. Yet the church you grew up in told you Jesus was eternally single, eternally virgin, eternally detached from the very human love he himself created. Why? Because if he was married, everything collapses. If he was married, then love between man and woman is not a distraction from holiness. It is holiness. If he was married, then the body is not dirty. It is sacred. If he was married, then a woman, Mary Magdalene, stands at the absolute center of the salvation story, not on the sidelines. And if he was married, then a child becomes possible. A daughter becomes possible. And that, my friend, was the single most dangerous idea the architects of official Christianity could imagine. Because a daughter means the blood of Christ did not end on the cross. It means the story did not stop at the resurrection. It means the kingdom of God continued in a little girl with her father's eyes and her mother's unbreakable spirit. It means heirs. It means a living bloodline walking the earth long after the apostles were dust. It means power that no pope, no emperor, no council could ever fully control. And worst of all, it means that power flowed first through the body, the womb, the heart of a woman. Two women. Actually, Mary Magdalene and her daughter, Sara. That single reality threatened the entire patriarchal empire they were building. So they did the only thing they could think of. They erased her. They erased both of them. They took dozens and dozens of Gospels, over 80 different accounts of Jesus' life, and chose only 4. 4 that never once mention a wife or child. 4 that could be twisted to support a male-only priesthood and mandatory celibacy. The rest? They labeled them apocryphal, heretical, dangerous. They hunted them down across the Roman world. They burned them in giant bonfires. They tortured scribes who copied them. They rewrote Mary Magdalene's entire reputation, turning the most honored disciple into a repentant prostitute, so no one would ever again dare ask why Jesus loved her so fiercely. And Sara? Sara they simply pretended never existed, as if the daughter of the Son of God could be erased with ink and fire. But truth is stubborn. Truth always finds a way. 1945. A peasant in Nag Hammadi, Upper Egypt, is digging for fertilizer near the cliffs. His pickaxe hits something hard. He pulls out a sealed clay jar, taller than a man's torso. Inside are 52 ancient books, leather-bound, written in Coptic, hidden there in the 4th century by monks who knew the church armies were coming to destroy them. And when scholars finally translate them, the world quietly begins to shake. The Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene herself. And in plain writing, impossible to misinterpret, we read that Jesus had a wife, that he kissed her often, that the other disciples were jealous, that Mary Magdalene was not a follower. She was the partner, the co-heir, the one entrusted with the deepest, most secret teachings, the one Jesus loved more than all the rest. And in the Gospel of Mary, Peter explodes in rage. Did he really choose a woman over us? And Mary answers with revelation so profound that some of the apostles refuse to believe them. This is not a side character. This is the other half of the story. Now travel with me to the year 33 AD. The sky turns black at noon. The veil in the temple rips from top to bottom. Jesus dies. The earth shakes. And in the chaos that follows, the most precious secret in the world is suddenly in mortal danger. Mary Magdalene is either heavily pregnant or already cradling a tiny baby girl against her heart. The Romans are hunting every follower of the Nazarene. The temple priests want the movement crushed before it spreads. There is no time to mourn. There's only one choice: run. Ancient tradition, preserved for centuries among the Romani people and in the oral memory of southern France, tells exactly what happened next. A small boat with no sail and no rudder is pushed into the Mediterranean in the dead of night. On board, Mary Magdalene, Mary Jacob, Mary Salome, Martha, Lazarus in some versions, and a dark-skinned child named Sara. They have nothing but the clothes on their backs and the promise Jesus whispered to Magdalene before he died: "I will never leave you orphans." For weeks they drift, starving, burning under the sun, drinking rainwater from their shawls. Death circles them like a vulture. But the same voice that once said, "Peace, be still," to the storm now guides their little boat across hundreds of miles of open sea. And one dawn, half dead, they scrape onto a lonely beach in southern Gaul, what is today Saintes-Ries-la-Mer, in the wild Camargue region of France. Sara, the daughter of the living Christ, steps onto European soil for the first time. The bloodline is safe. For the next 15 centuries, every single year on the 24th and the 25th of May, something miraculous happens in that tiny town. Tens of thousands of Romani pilgrims, gypsies, the eternal wanderers, the most persecuted people in European history, flood the streets in an explosion of color, music, and fire. Guitars, tambourines, horses galloping, wagons painted like rainbows stretching for miles. They come for one reason: to honor their patron saint. Sara la Kali, Sara the Black. They enter the ancient church, descend into the crypt, and there she stands, a dark-skinned statue of a young woman dressed in layer upon layer of embroidered robes, weighed down with flowers, jewels, candles, and handwritten prayers. Grown men fall on their knees and weep. Women cover her with silk scarves as offerings for miracles received. And at the climax of the festival, the priests reluctantly allow the gypsies to carry Sara's statue out of the church in a wild, shouting, singing procession straight down to the sea. They wade into the waves and lower her into the water exactly where legend says the boat first landed. They sing to her in languages older than nations. They light thousands of candles that float on the Mediterranean like a carpet of stars. And the Catholic Church? They built a fortress church right over the spot. They take the tourist money. But they have never, not once in 1,500 years, officially canonized Sara. They refuse to even speak her name from the pulpit. Because if they did, someone might ask the question every gypsy child knows the answer to: whose daughter was she? From that hidden childhood in the marshes of southern France, Sara grows into a young woman of extraordinary spiritual power. She marries, some say a local nobleman, some say a prince of royal blood. Children are born, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. The bloodline spreads quietly, carefully, always protected by those who know the secret. By the 5th century, the descendants have risen to the throne of the Franks. They are the Merovingian kings, the long-haired kings who wore their uncut hair as a sign of their divine descent. They were not just royalty. They were walking relics. Common people tore pieces of the king's cloak for healing because his touch carried power no priest could match. When a Merovingian child was born, no bishop dared baptize him. The child was considered holier than the clergy. The chronicles openly called their blood sangreal, the royal holy blood. And where did that blood come from? The oldest records, before the church rewrote them, whisper the answer: from a little girl who arrived by boat from Palestine, the daughter of Mary Magdalene and the Nazarene. The church hated them, hated their independence, hated their claim. And in the 8th century, with full Vatican approval, the Merovingians were betrayed by their own stewards, overthrown, and supposedly exterminated. But blood does not die so easily. It goes underground. It is guarded. First by secret monastic orders who copied forbidden manuscripts by candlelight. Then by the Knights Templar, those mysterious warrior monks who excavated beneath the ruins of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem and suddenly, overnight, became the richest, most powerful organization in Europe. On Friday the 13th, 1307, the Pope and the King of France arrested hundreds of Templars, tortured them on the rack, burned them alive at the stake. The official charge? Worshipping a head, spitting on the cross, practicing secret rites. But the sealed Vatican transcripts, opened centuries later, reveal something far more dangerous. The Templars were guarding proof of the living descendants of Jesus Christ. Some escaped with 18 shiploads of treasure, and legend insists, with living children of the bloodline. They sailed to Scotland, to Portugal, to the mountains of Switzerland, to hidden valleys where the trail goes cold. And then hot again in the most unlikely places. Look closely at the cathedrals of Europe: Chartres, Notre Dame, Rosslyn Chapel. Suddenly, in the 12th and 13th centuries, Roses begin blooming in stone, thousands of five-petaled roses carved into walls and windows. The rose was the ancient symbol of the divine feminine, of the bloodline, of secrecy. Look at the hundreds of Black Madonnas hidden in crypts and side chapels all across France, Spain, Italy, Poland. Dark-skinned virgins holding dark-skinned children. The official explanation? The wood darkened from candle smoke. The real explanation? Whispered by the old women who still leave flowers at their feet. They are Sara and her mother. Painted black so the Inquisition would not burn them. Look at the fleur-de-lis. The stylized lily that became the royal symbol of France, actually an ancient symbol of the sacred womb. Look at the Holy Grail legends that exploded across Europe at the exact same time. Grail, sang real royal blood, not a cup. A bloodline. The womb that carried it. This is why the Cathars, those peaceful, enlightened Christians of southern France who openly taught that Mary Magdalene was the wife of Christ, were exterminated in the 13th century. The Pope declared the only crusade ever launched against fellow Christians. Entire towns were burned. Men, women, children killed with the cry, "Kill them all. God will know his own." At the final massacre at Montségur, legend says the last 4 Cathar perfecti escaped through the night carrying a treasure, greater than gold, documents proving the bloodline. They vanished into the Pyrenees, and the trail leads straight to the Templars and beyond. This is why the Vatican libraries are locked tighter than any nuclear facility. This is why the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi library had to be hidden in caves, because the people who buried them knew the Orthodox armies were coming to destroy the truth. This is why the Inquisition's favorite question was always, "Do you believe the Magdalene was married to the Lord?" Say yes, and the fire was already lit. But fire cannot burn what lives in the hearts of the humble. The gypsies kept dancing. The old women kept lighting candles to the Black Madonna and whispering, "Saint Sara." The secret societies kept passing the knowledge hand to hand, Benedictines, Templars, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and a mysterious organization called the Priory of Sion, whose alleged grand masters include Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, Victor Hugo, Claude Debussy. Leonardo knew. Look at his Last Supper again. Look closely at the figure to Jesus' right. No beard, feminine features, red hair, the body leaning toward Jesus in the unmistakable posture of a wife. The negative space between them forms a perfect min for Magdalene. The entire painting screams the secret to anyone with eyes to see. And now in our lifetime, the seals are breaking. The texts are translated. The symbols are being decoded. The songs of the Romani are being recorded. The candles at Saint Mary's de la Mer burn brighter every year. And millions of ordinary people like you are waking up with an ache in their soul they can't explain. A longing for a Jesus who feels close enough to touch. A Jesus who loved with a human heart. A Jesus who laughed with his wife at the end of a long day. Who held his little girl on his lap and taught her the Beatitudes before she could even read. Who kissed Mary Magdalene goodnight and meant it with every cell in his body, that Jesus was hidden from you. But he is coming back, because Sara lived. The bloodline lived. The truth lived. And now it is looking for its own, if you feel it. If your chest is tight right now. If tears came without warning. If something ancient inside you just stood up and shouted, "Yes." Then you are not here by accident. You were led. You were called. This is the moment the prophets, the mystics, the gypsy grandmothers, and the silenced apostles have been waiting for. The daughter is rising. The sacred feminine is finding her voice again. The living Christ is coming home, not only in spirit, but in the faces of the descendants who may be sitting right next to you, who may be your neighbor, your friend, your child, or even you. So I am begging you with everything in me, do not let this moment pass. Scroll down right now and leave your mark. Write "Sara lives." Write "I remember." Right, the bloodline is real. Right, the veil is torn. Right, I accept the truth. Right, whatever your soul is screaming. Every single comment is a torch lit in a darkness that lasted 2,000 years. I read every single one. I pray over every single name. We are not an audience. We are the generation chosen to bring her home. Click like right now, not for me, not for the algorithm, but for every seeker who will find this video because you did. Subscribe and ring the bell. This is only the beginning. In the next parts we will go even deeper. The secret tombs, the hidden symbols in plain sight, the living descendants who may not even know who they are. The moment that is coming very soon when the world will no longer be able to keep this quiet. The boat has landed again. The little girl with the dark eyes, and the royal blood is stepping onto the shore. And this time, no one is going to silence her. Welcome home. Beloved. Sarah has been waiting for you for 2,000 years. Stay with me. We are just getting started. And the greatest revelation is still to come.